Hey beautiful souls, Hannah here from Reality Awareness. Got a bit of a vulnerable share today, so I'm a little bit nervous, but it's intuitively calling for me to share it. So welcome to my live stream, welcome to my page, welcome to my YouTube channel, depending on where you're watching me. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I would love to know where you're from around the world. If this is your first time here, please comment below and let me know. And let me know whereabouts you're from, what time of day it is, tuning in from around the world. It is morning here. So hello beautiful souls. I see you joining live. I'm just a little bit nervous about what I have to share with you. But when it is streaming through, I always share. So I trust. So as always, I'll just share this. And if you are watching on YouTube, remember to like and subscribe. Hey Laura. All right. Can you tell I'm a little bit nervous? Like, do I have to share all this? Do I really have to share all this? Well, I don't have to do anything, but I choose to share the message, right? Always. All right. So Perth, Ontario in Canada. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, and I'll just share this here as well. How are you all feeling? Because after that 90-degree turn, everything turned for me. I had a really big breakdown on Monday. I say breakdown, but it was a breakthrough. Like, that's what it is. When we break down, we break through. And that's what I'm really feeling called to pick apart and share with you guys, because I feel it's a really important message and understanding. And with anything that I share, please know I'm not ignoring you. I'm just sharing this to my page. For some reason, that's not letting me do it. Okay. Almost there. Yes, here we go. Okay, awesome. Done. Sweet. I'm spinning, feeling low, hoping to break through. Okay, this live stream's gonna help you then. That's why I needed to share. Thank you. If there's only one person that helps, that's all that matters. Well, it doesn't even matter if I don't help anyone. I still have to share the message, right? It's so important when we're talking about life purpose work and all of that. It's so, so important, right? So in speaking about that, I'm being called to put this on Instagram as well, which I haven't done for ages. So just bear with me a minute because I forgot about that. Haven't gone live on here for so long. Got to remember how to figure it out. Turn this around because I'm sure they want to see me, not my light in the wall, right? Very low and tired. Okay, I think it's going live on Instagram. Oh, I'm shaking because I'm nervous. We still share it anyway, right? Okay, welcome Instagram. Yay. Okay, I haven't been live on Instagram for ages and really feeling called to do so. So welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. Okay, here we go. So for those of you who don't know me, welcome, my name is Hannah. And by the way, the Intuitive Coaching Immersion final days for applications closes on Sunday midnight. So this weekend, depending on where you are in the world. So if you've got questions about that, you can send me a message or the link is in the comments and on my page. I'll just put the link in as well. Because this sort of stuff that I'm about to talk about, this is the kind of stuff we dig deep with in the Intuitive Coaching Immersion. Everything that I do the work just as much as what I tell my clients to do, because it's the way that we have shifts. It's the way that we're able to move forward in life. It's the way that we grow and evolve when we're constantly shifting and changing, right? And when we have to understand that when we have a breakdown, it's actually not. It's actually a breakthrough, right? So this light's flicking and that's annoying me. Okay, that's a bit better. All right, I know it's a bit darker, but that's okay. Because I'm good in the dark. I'm good in the dark, right? It's the light that I've been scared of. Okay, let me turn that off. All right, so I can see these comments. All right, just stop playing around with it, Hannah, just share. I'm nervous too. Okay. Solar flares are happening now. Yeah, solar flares are happening now. And also our eclipse, we're right on the edges of the eclipses. Yeah, so the eclipse are coming next week. Like, is it next week? Yeah. Oh my goodness, that phone. How's my little phone? Yeah, that I don't update anymore because it's got all the Doreen Virtue apps that you can't get anymore. And, you know, it's got the numbers app and all of that, right? I looked at the date the other day and it says May the 3rd, 2000. And I was like, oh, it's starting to play up. It's kind of had its day, right? So, okay, so next Tuesday and Wednesday is Christmas Eve, Boxing Day. Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, 24th, 25th, 26th. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or depending on where you are around the world, right? Now we've got the eclipses coming up, and if you're feeling like that about this whole, you're breaking down, right? You're just like, oh my God, breaking down. And solstice this weekend. Thank you for reminding me, right? There's a lot going on. Plus the Christmas rush and the collective energy that everybody feels about that, and the stress that brings on, having to see people that we don't usually see, having to create a whole big feast and presents and all the kind of, traditional things, and maybe you don't do the traditional things, and that's okay. And then there's all the feelings that come with the people who don't have, the families or the people or anything like that. There's a lot of energies at play around this time of year. Plus, on top of that, there's also the goals that we didn't make, the goals that we did make this year, going, whoa, look what happened this year. And you might be like, yes, amazing. Or you might be like, I can't believe this has happened this year. And this has been the worst year of my life. You know what I mean? So there's so many energies at play in every December, let alone what's actually really going on right now. Okay. So keeping that in mind when we are, feeling like we're low, feeling like we're breaking down, feeling like we're falling apart, feeling like all those things, yeah? Now, I know myself, I knew this was coming. I could feel it. And I want to point out how I could feel it, okay? Because so I was really happy that my little girl was coming back from New Zealand, of course. She'd spent time with her dad. And she got back Saturday afternoon, and it's always bittersweet with her going away, and it's always bittersweet with her coming home, right? So with that, being said, I could feel those couple of days I was full of anxiety, and even Saturday and Sunday I was full of anxiety, and I've been seeing a lot of people saying they've been full of anxiety. And I haven't done a post yet, but I want to make this little post because anxiety is many things. Anxiety at its core is too much energy in the heart. So if you do suffer from anxiety, the thing is to ask yourself, number one, is do I need to cry? What do I need to cry about? What, do I need to cry? Basically, right? Because in that, when I say too much energy in the heart, it's usually because we're holding down feelings, okay? Now, anxiety is, yes, a fear of the future, right? We're scared because we don't know what's coming, and we're there's no kind of solid, concrete plan in a way, right? We're kind of might be going through massive change, and anxiety comes on. Now, again, as I always say, the best way to cope with change and move through change is to cry and go through that grieving cycle. It is imperative that you know the grief cycle structure and understand where you are at when you go through any sort of change, when you go through any sort of change. It could be big change, it could be little change. It doesn't matter if it's change. You need to understand the grief cycle, otherwise you get stuck in it. Okay, and then you think something's wrong with you, and then you just go into this negative spiral of even more stuff. Okay. Now, for me, at its core, with this breakdown that I had, as soon as I had the big cry, I haven't had anxiety since. Right now I'm I'm nervous to share this, and I don't even know why I'm nervous to share this, because a lot of you guys already know what I'm talking about. However, I guess I'm nervous about it because, I don't know. I don't even know why. Maybe I'm afraid that I've been shut down so many times for sharing my heart, and a big part of me seemingly being really quiet this year, actually, on live streams and that, just recently I've been oh my God, I need to live stream more. Why haven't I been live streaming? Why have I been shutting myself down? Why haven't I been sharing my message? And that has come because the whole start of this online journey where I could share my message with the world, the first like 18 months to 2 years, I was live streaming like every single day, like sharing like everything with the world. And of course I got a lot of backlash about that because we shouldn't be doing this and you shouldn't be swearing and you shouldn't be like all these people, right, telling me what to do. And I'm like, guys, like, don't watch my shit. You don't like me. Why do people watch things they don't like or enjoy, right? Number one. So, and then the other part of that is that I've been stepping out of my codependency habits, my codependency relationship. Like that's something, so what are we now? And so probably about the past 2.5 years, I've been consciously working on that. Yeah, I've been really consciously working on releasing my codependency habits. And that has come because obviously I want a, divine union loving relationship, and all the relationship patterns I've had to date have been codependency. And so I've been waking up and pulling myself out of this codependency habit, right? And in the start, it was very confronting and hard in a sense that, so probably, where are we now? So probably 2016, 2017 was when I really started like waking up to it and just going, oh my goodness, like need to heal, like what's underneath this, right? And, so the codependency thing has been a big part of it. Now within that, of course, is the masculine and feminine balance and working on the masculine and feminine within self. And then underneath that is looking at the core wounding about how we even get into addictive relationships, or where does that even stem from, or addictive nature of anything. I talk about releasing my coffee addiction, and the past maybe 3 months, it's probably all you guys have heard me talk about, right, on live stream and whatever. It's like I need to release my coffee addiction. I'm working on this and releasing the coffee addiction. I'm like working myself up to it, right? And I'm still drinking coffee today, but I feel like what I've worked through in the past 3 months of like, I'm going to release it, I have to release it. It's not that I had to release it. It's I had to release what coffee was covering up for me. Because you see, I got into this habit of, now, there's a difference between habitual habits that support us, and a disciplined routine that supports us, and a habitualized habit that is covering up feelings. Now, this is why I always say to people, a disciplined, structured routine for creating your life in any way, shape, or form. For example, a disciplined yoga practice, like 3 times a week. Don't let anything miss your 3 times a week. Like your disciplined routine is so important and crucial for growth for a period of time. Yeah? For example, about like a disciplined yoga practice. Okay, let's use that. If that then becomes something, that you cannot not live without, there's something you're covering up with that. It doesn't matter what the addiction is, because anything can become an addiction. Yeah, anything can become an addiction, even if it's good. You should be able to have your rituals and your routines and the things that support you, but you should be able to live without them as well. And if you can't, and you can't give up that thing just for a couple of days even, and the thought of it is like, oh my God, like I can't survive without that, then there's something underneath that's going on, right? So for me, I had this amazing like morning ritual routine, and it's definitely served me, and I still love it today, right? However, the past few months, it was strong. It was like, I need to give up coffee. Like, number one, I could feel that I needed a break from it. Now, when we look at coffee itself, for me personally, this is just my own process. Coffee is obviously a stimulant. It's very taxing and draining on the adrenals. It's like creates more stress, even though it kind of gets us going, all of that sort of jazz, right? So I created this amazing routine, and I'd wake up, have my black coffee and journal and listen to music, and I would start my day. Now, the other kind of little factor in that is that I started getting into this routine where I'd have coffee and my honey and butter on toast in the morning, and that was my breakfast ritual, right? Along with journaling and stuff. But it like became this thing that I couldn't change my diet because I had to stay with like that was how I started my day. And like in myself, like I'm like, what else am I supposed to have for breakfast? Like, green smoothies just don't do it for me. Like I used to do that, and I don't know, I got turned off green smoothie. I don't know. Anyway, the point is, right, is that the past 3 months, I'm like, I need to give up coffee, because I'm like, I need to change my diet because it's going all shit. And I was like, and the other thing about this whole thing about the past 6 months even, right, is that I've been in unconscious sabotage to my entire life. My business, my relationships, money, everything. Unconscious sabotage. Like, it's been fucking huge. And I was like I've woken up to this and I'm like, I think that's why I'm nervous to share, right? Because I can't believe that I'm sharing this with you guys. But it's like so important with what I've learned and shifted, and yeah, that's why I got to share it. Because the big breakdown that I had on Monday, oh my goodness. Okay, so the unconscious sabotage patterns. So this whole thing, right? Need to give up coffee, because I thought it was the coffee. I thought coffee was the problem. Okay, what do I always say? Don't release the addiction. It's what's underneath it that you need to work on, right? And I knew that in itself. Like I deeply know that, and had been working on that. So even though I kept saying, I need to give up coffee, at the same time, everything in the past few months was coming up because of what's underneath coffee. Like it has been, right? Do you know what I mean? Like the whole past few months is what was underneath coffee. Now, I know I've shared a little bit about this, but this is important to, I guess, the big realization, right? So a big part of the codependency about being a independent woman who is building an empire, a big part of me waking up out of the codependency was also me waking up into how much, for my entire life, I've been in a over responsibility, over masculinity energy. You know how they talk about women who are strong and independent, but they have this like they're more in their masculine energy. Well, that was me, and that was a big wake up call, right? And it was also a big wake up call into how much I'd been in like doing, like gotta push, gotta create, like, do you know what I mean? Like, and that served me well, right? It has served me well. And even though I've been quiet the past few months, and I say I've been in unconscious sabotage, and I say I've been in all these things at the same time, right? And that's why there's so many layers to this. At the same time, there's been this shift out of the masculine do into the more feminine receiving. So really working on the internal beliefs that I need to do more to be more. Really working on those internal beliefs that, I need to push to create results. I need, like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's all the stuff that I've been working on in shifting inside of myself so that I can not only up level in my business, but also create a loving, balanced relationship that I don't attract another man who is the opposite of me in my overbearing energy. Does that make sense? Like, do you know what I mean? So, and I've consciously not been in relationships for quite some time because I've been consciously wanting to work on this, and I have been, right? And not only is it affecting all my relationships, it's also affecting obviously my business and how I show up in the world and what I do and how I speak and how I walk and everything I create, and it has a different energy, right? So Danny says, completely get that masculinity. I did the same over and over and over responsible. Yes. And it's like, that's where that push and that drive, and it's like, well, where does that come from, right? And there's usually a little girl or a little boy inside of us, yeah, who has had to carry the load. And this is where I want to share really important about feeling burdened, feeling exhausted, and nothing you do like changes that exhaustion. Feeling tired all the time, feeling like you've got so much to do and you're so stressed that if somebody asks you for like one tiny little thing, you're just gonna explode because, oh my God, this, and like, oh my God, just don't, I'm so stressed out right now. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's how I used to be, like, all the time. But I didn't even realize, right? I didn't even realize. And this whole past 6, 8 months, 12 months even, was this time last year I really woke up to it. Starting to really shift out of that energy. It was the core internal shift, yeah, this time last year for sure, or November last year. And it was just this like it's been a big internal shift. And the reason I'm sharing and I'm talking about the past 6 months and I'm talking about last year and I'm like giving a real life example, this stuff doesn't shift overnight. Like, yes, it can, but the habitual behaviors and the habitual patterns and the subconscious like redoing of our entire energy, it's a process. Yeah. And as I always say, like, it takes 6 months to birth, like 9 months to birth a new reality. Just like a mother births a child and gestates a child for 9 to 10 months, we are also birthing an entire new reality in that time. At 6 months, you'll have like a woof, like it'll start to hit reality, and then the next 3 months are a really recalibration of your physical reality. That first 6 months is really just like being in the energy, and then woof, 6 months like really starts to hit reality, and it might feel like everything's getting worse before it gets better. And then those last 3 to 4 months are when your physical reality is really recalibrating, covered in goosebumps as I say that. And then the next 9 months is like I don't know how to say it, like a next level of integrating into your physical reality in a sense, yeah? So Cherry says, yeah, oh my God, so relate to what you're saying in so many aspects of my life. Yes, right? And so like I said, like, where does that stem from? Where does it come from? And it's from us as a child carrying that load, carrying that energy, carrying that burden, right? And this is why I always harp on like inner child. You want to heal something? Inner child work. Like, seriously, guys, you want to heal? You can heal anything by doing consistent inner child work. I guarantee it, right? Try it. So when I say consistent, I mean like 3 months worth of deep internal inner child work, and then you continue to go from there on. You don't just stop, you know what I mean? Like, so anyway, so really working like, on that really burdened inner child, right? And obviously this is what I've been working on myself, yeah? And so much around, like not feeling loved as a child. Like, yes, my parents and my family loved me in the best way that they knew how. Like, I get that, right? Now, if you don't know about the 5 love languages, please learn about them. Please Google them. There's books, there's all that sort of jazz. Because those 5 love languages give you another insight into, I guess human psyche, understanding, whatever, about how a person receives love from you in the way they need. Because you could have 2 people with, different sets of love languages, and they could be in this relationship and they never feel loved because this person's giving love the way that they need to be receiving love, and this person is giving love this, and there's a clash. But when you understand how that person feels loved by their love language, then you can save time, save energy, and create an amazing relationship by supporting them. Loving a person is understanding them and understanding what their love languages are, and then making them feel loved by that. Like, that's true love, right? That's love. Not in an over-responsibility way, but in a way that you understand your partner, right? So Demi says, yes, me too. I feel like it's the final months, the past few days, huge shifts. Yes. Yes, exactly, Danny. My shadow work is all childhood trauma related. Yes, exactly, right? Like, inner child and shadow work, powerful tools. Like, you can use both those meditations back to back with one another. Like, it's so powerful, right? So you've got... So with the inner child stuff, yeah, it's really working on that little girl who had to hold the family together, who never felt loved, and she had to step into these roles to be able to receive love, attention, and this is where, and I'm speaking from personal experience, this is where, like my parents separated when I was, 4 or 5, but then it wasn't until I was like 8 that's when it hit reality for me that they're not going back together, right? And it was like my world fell apart. And I've never felt like I've had anyone there for me ever since. Now I've had to, help mom and, raise the younger kids. And when I was growing up, I had like lots of younger siblings and other kids in the house all the time. And I felt like I was doing all the caring for them, which they'll probably say something different, and that's fine. That was my experience of it, and felt like I had to do that to receive love, and then I still never received love. And so this kind of like outpouring of energy all the time, and you feel drained and exhausted, and you're wondering why, because you're not receiving, right? And so unpatterning these patterns in childhood does not happen overnight, right? And it is a big thing to face, right? And that's why releasing addictions is usually really tricky, because in that you've got this layers upon layers upon layers upon layers. And this is why, doing personal development work, doing any sort of, work that's bettering yourself or creating a reality, or you want to shift, if you want to dream life, you're going to have to do this work. Honestly, you wonder why your life's not working and why you feel exhausted all the time and why you're overburdened and why, like it keeps going, right? You want to create your dream reality, you're going to have to dig in and do this work. Like it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer because this is creating your reality ever since. If you don't go and shift and change and rewrite this, you're going to just create the same reality, right? So the other part for me and the big breakdown that I had on Monday especially was, and this is, I trust that when I say this, I'm not saying any of this stuff to get sympathy or poor me. I actually really hate it when people say that stuff. I'm like, oh, you just missed the entire point of me sharing. Like, you know what I mean? Like I think I resist sharing because I don't want people to think that, because it's not why I share. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not doing it from a victim, point. Like that's not where I'm sharing. I'm sharing from an empowered point about this is what was at the core. This is what was at the core that I've been working on, trying to create an amazing reality, and so many amazing things have been happening, but there's always another layer. There's always another step. There's always another layer, right? And this, my big breakdown on Monday, was at the core of this current thread. Now I say current thread because, like I said, there's always layers, there's always shifts, there's always layers, okay? Now, going back over the codependency, going back on releasing the coffee healing. If you haven't watched my Divine Step number 10, Wholeness, and Divine Step number 11, Joy, in the 12 Divine Steps to Awakening Your Life Purpose, they're in my Reality Awareness Support Group. Please send me a message if you'd like the link to them. Or all the 12 Divine Steps, because in there I share deeply around, like what coffee was covering up for me. Yeah. And it was because I never used to drink coffee. I never used to drink it. But then when I went through the domestic violence, when I was pregnant, and then I moved 2 hours away and went through the whole court system and all that sort of thing, I began drinking coffee as a way to cope and continue being a mum. Like, do you know what I mean? And so underneath releasing coffee was all this burden, was all this having to do it on my own, was all this having to be the mum and the dad and hold the house together and try and make money and try and survive. And like, do you know what I mean? It's like, whew. And then underneath that is the core, right? And so releasing coffee for me, even though I haven't released it, but I'm like, I need to release coffee because what was coming up was everything that was underneath that. Now, when I look at, the core of what this is and what this was, like on Monday, it is the fact that it drops deep down in to the fact that when I was a child, I've never felt like I had anybody there. And I really do believe that, and I work with clients with this. I mean, like, you could walk in, you've heard the saying so many times, you could walk into a crowded room and still feel alone. You could be in the most loving family and still feel alone. Why? Because it's actually your inner child inside that feels alone, that feels disconnected. And by the way, your inner child is the one who has the divine wisdom, is the one who is connected to your intuition, is connected to the divine, is connected to the most profound insights and your life purpose and everything. Like, it's your inner child. Because from the ages of 0 to 7, we are not conscious of ourselves. From 7 to 14, we start to become conscious of ourselves, right? And then from 14 onwards, there's all these different stages of development, right? So from 0 to 7, we are like sponges and we are absorbing everything in our environment. So if you think what your life was like from the ages of 0 to 7, okay? And then when you start to be conscious of yourself and your reality from 7 onwards, then we start to create all these belief systems from everything we've like experienced and then what we're also currently experiencing, right? So if everything we've gone through, right? And this is why it's like this whole big thread of like there's always layers, especially when you're consciously creating a reality, because there's all this pure gold, by the way, in connecting with your inner child from the age of 0 to 7, or any age, to be honest. Because inner child, when you work with it and the shadow meditation, it can be like obviously when you're a child, but also any age beyond, like past this one, like beyond, before this current age, right? So I'm 35. So any age of myself could turn up where there's any trauma along the line, right? So working with this, yes, exactly, Danny, it's not fun at all. And that's why most people don't do it, right? And they wonder why they're still exhausted and wonder why they're still tired and wonder why nothing's shifting. And it's like, well, have you really done the inner work for a consistent amount of time? And this is why I'm sharing, like that 9-month cycle, the 18-month cycle. Like, there is power in that 18 month cycle, you know. And this is, again, another reason that most people don't, you know, shift through stuff, is because they reach a certain point, like they'll be doing the journaling, or they'll be doing the mindset, or they'll be doing whatever, and they'll hit this point where that deepest, darkest trauma from whatever age, right, is starting to surface, and it gets even harder, and it feels even worse, and we're starting to break down, and we're starting to be so excited, and like, don't ask me for another thing because I'm going to lose my shit. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's because this is surfacing. And if you don't know how to handle, if you don't know how to walk through, if you don't know how to cope, if you don't know how to process that, that's when you say, I'm not doing this anymore. It's too hard. I'm giving up on my dreams. I'm not meant to do this. Everyone's against me anyway. All the stories, and you will walk in the other direction of your dreams, right? This is crucial because you're about to break through. Now, I knew Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I was feeling, I wouldn't say overwhelmed. I could feel the anxiety, and I was like, what is that in my heart? Like, what is that? Like, I could feel it for days, right? And I wasn't feeling myself, and I was just like, and then Monday, I do know what triggered it. I was doing some work from my mentor's training, and I actually like dropped into it, and it was this space around not having anybody there. I've never had anybody there. Now, people would beg to differ with that sentence, right? People would definitely beg to differ with that sentence. But I have never had anyone there. So when you're saying, Danny, saying feel lonely, yes, right? And I feel like I've been somewhat not ignoring that, conscious of it, but also not knowing what to do with that, you know, in a sense of like, okay, I feel lonely because, and it's not like, oh, I feel lonely and I want somebody. Like, I used to be like that when I was in the prime of the codependency, right? And that's why any man that paid any attention to me, I'd be in full bang relationship with them. I didn't even know that pattern, right? And waking up to that was confronting. It was confronting. And so, you know, and this is where the addictive cycles and the unhealthy relationships and the domestic violence cycles, you know, and like, you know, yes, there's domestic violence and like, you know, women, and we go through stuff, and like, it's not that there's any good or bad domestic violence at all, right? I'm not placing blame on the women. I'm not placing blame on the men, but there's a lot of, it can go either way. There's a lot of women out there who only blame the men, but it's a lot of their part too. And that for me was confronting, to wake up and take responsibility for that as well. Yeah. And this whole, you know, journey of, I say, releasing codependency, is releasing underneath that, having to hold it all together, having to like be the responsible one, having to do all that to receive love, but then I still never get loved in all the stuff I wanted anyway. Like, do you know what I mean? And it's like all these like patterns and everything, and at the core on Monday with the breakdown of actually facing that pain, the pain of not having anybody there. Now, as I always say, when we actually feel the pain, it shifts, yes, but it also allows the light to come in. So with my beautiful little drawings here, because I'm a very visual person and I love explaining this in visuals, is that so we've got our heart, right? And I could feel all the anxiety was like, because like I said, anxiety is a big core of too much energy in the heart. Yeah? Too much energy in the heart, because it's like all this stuff coming in. And that's why I always say, clear your energy. Whose energy are you carrying, right? And I was conscious about that, and I was carrying a certain person at the time as well. I didn't realize until part of the breakdown on Monday and yesterday. And anxiety is when we're cut off from feeling our heart, right? There's so much energy in here that we're also, this is our head. Well, we're not really happy when we feel anxiety. Oh, that's a sad face. Because we're not really happy when we're feeling anxiety, right? And then what happens is, this is our head and our shoulders and blah, 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 is we're actually cut off. And this is where I say we're cut off from our head and we live in our head. And we're like, because we don't want to feel it because it's really painful. There's a lot of pain in there. What actually happens when we face that pain and we actually sit there and feel the grief, what happens? All the light and energy can flow through here again, and it allows it to shift out. Yeah, we actually allow the energy to flow rather than it being cut off, right? So facing it is not easy, it's not nice, but it allows the energy to flow again. And then we do, well, after a while, we start to feel happy butts because we've shifted out that. And usually it's a core thing that's surfaced, right? And so when we allow ourselves that, and this is like, it was really big for me. And I think because of everything that I've been working on the past 3 months and past 3 to 6 months, and then realizing that I've been in this unconscious sabotage, right? And let me tap on this again because it was so huge. Like, you know, just like, wow. And I know I was even reflecting this morning, I'm like, the whole energy around it has changed now, right? Because, you know, like you grow a business, you grow a company, and then, you know, like what do? You get a team, and you get a team, and then you grow, and then you're not doing everything that's the basis of growing a big company, right? You don't freaking know everything. However, I tried that. I tried the team thing, didn't fucking work, right? It's all good. I can do it myself, right? This past few months, because I've needed to do it myself again because I'm like, what did I do wrong here? Like, what's going on, right? And all this has surfaced. And so in this, you know, in like I said this morning, and like healing that big core wound of like, well, I've not had anybody there for me because that was still sitting in my field. Even when I did have a team, I don't know if it wasn't letting them do things. It was a very different energy. It was like, I can save you. Work for me, I can save you. Still in that unconscious pattern from childhood. Like full on, right? Because the energy hadn't shifted around that core wounding pattern yet. And like I said this morning, I was reflecting and I was like, wow, if I just get a team now, I feel so different because I've like shifted that. It's different. And I don't know how to describe it, but it's a different feeling. I don't need to save anybody. Like that's changed, right? So I guess I'm just sharing that because even though I'm talking about it doesn't seem that huge, I honestly haven't cried my eyes out for that, like that hard for like years, literally years. Like I've still got, you know, when you cry so much and your nose, like, and like yesterday my eyes are still really puffy. I don't know, today they're still a little bit puffy. I literally haven't bawled that much for ages, and like so much shifted in that because at the same time, I've been like wanting to move house, haven't been able to move house, been here for 8 years now, and my tolerance for it is just like, okay, I've had enough now, like, and it dropped into this, like, no one's ever there for me, I'm always alone, like, you know, like really facing that pain, like I've known that stuff, and I'm like, cool, I'm doing something about it, I'm creating a life, not that I don't have to rely on anyone, but my family were always big on like, you need to take responsibility for your life, and you need to go to uni, and you need to do this and this, and I'm like, I am. They couldn't see for so long, right? I think now they're starting to see what I'm doing. But, you know, it was just like this whole thing around nobody's been there for me. Nobody supported me. Like everybody who was there at the start have dropped off. And I understand that's what happens, right? But it's this whole thing around, you know, the closest people like will always tear me down. Like, you know, and these are all beliefs that stemmed from right in there around that. Like as I shared the other day on live stream, all those beliefs, right? They you know, fuel this kind of core wounding pattern behavior. So it's not just changing the beliefs, you know, the thoughts, it's also working on this, but then when you've shifted this out, it's also rewriting and rewiring these, right? So interesting, even like the other day when I was in my mess, the other day I was like, oh, this is why I was talking about all that stuff on live stream, like leading up to this, because everything I was going through without even consciously being so conscious of it, right? And I'm like, right, now I've got to go down and share this as well. So yeah, you're so welcome, Danny. Yes, I'm back, Shane. I'm back and sharing. And then the other part on top of this is about me being seen, me being accepting and teaching about the light. Because the other part, like I said the other day, is that I've been scared to teach about the light. I've been scared to be in the light. I've been scared to, I'm all good teaching about the darkness, but get me teaching about the light. Oh my goodness. So that's been another like, you know, aspect about that. But that's also about being seen in relationship. Yeah. Being seen in my light side, being vulnerable, being open, being receptive, being in my feminine energy, not in that masculine blockade energy, right? It's really big. So I just felt called to share all that. And I'm so curious if you guys can relate to any of that. And if you're feeling exhausted all the time and nothing you do shifts it, like this is where you would want to be starting to dig into about the little girl or the little boy inside of you who is carrying the load from childhood. And yes, that can stem deep into past lives, and there's so much deep work you can do about that, but that would be core of what you'd be looking into. Yeah. So send me a message if you've got any questions, or comment below. You can tag people in it that you think that this would help them in this live stream, or send it to them in a private message. The intuitive coaching immersion, this is the sort of stuff that we are constantly unpacking, like every single step of the way. Like something comes up, it's like shift, right? And my gift, and I'm deeply owning that, is that I shift into the core very quickly. Yeah, I can get straight to the core, and we can unpack it and look at what's actually going on there. Like this is my gift of going, yep, this is where it stems from. People are like, how did you know that? I've never told a soul that before, right? I'm like, it's my gift. This is definitely my gift. And the intuitive coaching immersion is being able to look at that, right? It's a 6 months deep one-on-one with me. You've got me on the phone, like, all the time, 24/7. I'm right there for you. And really working at not just, unpacking all of this, but also what happens when we do unpack that is that your life purpose starts to become clear. Yeah, like I said in this live stream, your inner child is your golden key to your life purpose, to all your hopes and dreams, to that deep, trustful, like childlike faith of intuition that is so spot on all the time. Like it's her, it's him, it's your inner child. And if you haven't deeply reconnected with your inner child, like on a consistent basis, and like I keep saying, it's not just once or twice. This is like a constant work, a constant connection of the relationship with yourself. And if you don't have this deep inner connection with your inner child, with yourself, that is when those unhealthy patterns start to play out in relationships, because we're trying to get our needs met through the relationship out there, through our partner, through someone else, through anything, addictions, right? But when we actually go, it's her, it's him, it's the inner child inside of us that is needing that, that's when your whole reality starts to shift. That's when you start feeling different on the inside. That's when you start manifesting things. The intuitive coaching immersion is where we look at that and shift those patterns from the inside out, and then also looking at your life purpose on a practicality level about what that actually looks like, and bringing that to fruition in your reality with your unique life purpose, because it's different for everybody. But those golden keys lay deep inside you, and if you're not willing to do the work, do not even apply for this, okay? Because you have to turn up to do the work. So if you are ready to, send me a message for all the details, because this will shift you, and this will dive deep though, so you have to be ready for it, but it is a soul calling. So applications close this weekend, so you can send me a message. I've popped the link in there, you'll see it on my page. Send me a message if you've got any questions about it. So Shane says, I've had inner child meditations appearing on YouTube, signs from the universe. Ding! You want to release your exhaustion? Oh my goodness, especially if you can relate to a people pleaser, especially if you want to help everyone and then feel so exhausted, and then, you just get resentful because no one's giving you what you want, and they take from you all the time, and they da-da-da-da-da. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that would be your sign. They're your signs. So, thanks for joining me on Instagram, guys. Hi, Wendy. Lots of love to you guys. And again, if you're watching on YouTube, remember to like and subscribe. And I shall see you guys real soon. Deep, deep, deep inner child healing happening for you. Yeah, it changes. It changes your entire life. If there's things going on, it's what you need to work on. Big time, right? Of course, there's so many other tools and there's so many different things you can use on the planet. But that one is powerful just by itself. So, yeah. All right, guys. Love you guys heaps. Speak to you soon.